This was certainly, as far as a game that against such a creditable team, this was a really good team and is a good team. And for us to come in here and play like that on all sides of the ball, particularly the way we kept them out of the end zone on a touchdown, is just unbelievable. And the positive, I know our fans are excited, and you should be. I, too, thought this game was going to tell us what we are. I don't know that we're that. I really don't. But I know this, that we're not we are not a team that doesn't respond when it's wounded. Everybody thought against the Packers that we underplayed, and I think you saw what happened when we got out here tonight, and the team all came together. I think if we use the experience of what we're having in the season, then we're going to be playoff ready. But I sure do think that what I see out here right now is the team like that you could go get a Super Bowl with.
Hey, that's all facts right there. I can't argue with a word he said. Couple of things, and the word weak, both spellings, comes to mind. So a week ago, Cowboys coming off an unprecedented collapse against the Packers, unprecedented in franchise history. They had never before lost a game in which they entered the fourth quarter leading by 14 or more points until last week at Green Bay. Come back the next week, and they hand the Minnesota Vikings their biggest home loss, their worst home loss in 59 years. That's the Vikings headline. A Vikings team that we were crowning last week after they beat the Bills in the game of the year. But
you
the
want to
big
crown
news
them?
Is in the glorious history of the Dallas Cowboys, that's the biggest road win in Cowboys history. 40-3 over the Vikings is the biggest road win in Cowboys history. I read that today, and I'm like, really? I would have guessed that they beat somebody by more than that on the road, but apparently not.
Like some expansion team or something, you know.
Oh, it's just something.
An overmatched
all the games that the
opponent.
Cowboys have won.
Yeah.
Right.
All the great teams they've had. Yeah.
So that was what a difference a week makes. But weak in terms of mentally, emotionally, and psychologically weak. The Cowboys, we talk about the Jets, we talk about the Chargers, we talk about the Browns, we talk about all these different franchises that come up with new and creative ways to lose games. And typically the Cowboys and a lot of people have made their brand in this here media industry, built their brand on the backs of clowning the Cowboys. Clowning the Cowboys, self-destructing. And for them to bounce back from last week, and do this 180 at the expense of a team that is legitimately a good team, better than 40-3, speaks volumes not just about their ability, but their mentality. And so I got to give it up. I don't know what you're talking about when you said in your feed, I know you won't give Mike McCarthy his flowers. When did me and Mike McCarthy go back to when he was New Orleans offensive coordinator? What you talking about? I won't give Mike McCarthy his flowers.
Yeah, everybody
Everybody
says that.
Like, you mean you people?
You all, y'all.
Or you mean
y'all,
me?
Y'all.
Oh,
But you know what?
Okay.
I might not be talking about y'all. I might be talking about y'all and you. Because you know what? This you know, okay. And I don't want people to go back with me like this. Because you just did something that Trotter did a few weeks ago.
What's that?
He's like,
you mean regular brother from another host, Jim Trotter?
Jim Trotter.
That I'm sitting in for? I'm sitting in for Jim Trotter at this point.
Sitting in for Jim Trotter. Hi, Michael Smith in for Jim Trotter today. Trotter, who will be here tomorrow, Trotter's like, Mike McCarthy. Oh, he's a friend of mine, and I love Mike McCarthy. You know, I remember he was this and this, and then just go off and then clown him. Like, okay, that's your boy, but I don't hear no respect though. Hey, everybody want to tell you how long they've known him, how long they've been down with him, but they never really want to say.
Almost like a qualifier.
He's
like, listen, this ain't personal.
I'm telling you Cowboys fans, you're not going to listen to me. I'm going to tell Cowboys fans this. And I know we're going to talk to some Cowboys fans. They're going to disagree with me. You've got the better coach right now than the one you're looking for. You're looking for Sean Payton. Mike McCarthy's better. I said it without apology. Mike McCarthy is the better coach for this team than Sean Payton is for this team. And so, it's almost like when they lose games, only Mike McCarthy wins. Mike McCarthy only loses games. So he got 4 losses this year.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
He's got 4
Sean
losses.
Payton, that hypothetical is kind of hard to argue with because they look really good right now. So to suggest that Sean Payton would have them in a better position is kind of moot. But I understand what you're saying. Mike McCarthy deserves credit, whereas he only gets blamed. That's a fair point. But he does deserve blame.
Everybody else has.
For the way they self-destructed last year. Last year. Everything he got coming off the playoff game last year was fair. And he has had issues in terms of management over the years. But he is a Super Bowl winning coach. He deserves more. Look, I mean, nowadays it seems like Aaron Rodgers is missing what he had once upon a time. So I'm with you on that.
You said it.
But here's the thing. But I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say anything else, at least not anytime soon. Because I teased this before the break. I've been in this sports talk game for 20 years. There is not a take that I can recall regretting more than after week 1, declaring the Cowboys season over when Dak Prescott went down to injury. That's just, I mean, I've said a lot of dumb shit over the years. That's right up there. Like that's, I mean, because usually even the things that the plays that I want back, I could at least say, well, here's what I was thinking at the time. That was just so bad. So with that in mind,
the moment,
I'm gonna cede the floor. I'm gonna cede the floor to a couple of our sisters from another mister, a couple of our friends of the show, a couple of Cowboys fans, Ashley Nicole Moss and Britt Johnson, who are gonna sit up here and educate both of us, or me more than you, Michael, on the Cowboys. And I'm just gonna sit back and do what I usually do when smart women are in the room and just listen and shut up and relax and take notes. Because, yeah, I got this one wrong. I've been off it, Ashley, but I got to keep reminding myself, because I got to keep taking accountability, Zach Wilson, for my error back in week 1. So, Ashley, the floor is yours. Talk your ish about your Cowboys.
I mean, first of all, it's Victory Monday. Mondays are always better after a Cowboys win, especially when you annihilate your opponent. You like that, Kirk Cousins? I know you do. Listen, I don't think the take was just like, I don't think it was an asinine take. I think a lot of people thought the Cowboys season was done. Nobody really knew the severity of Dak's injury. I think Cowboy fans also were like, here we go again. We know what the team looks like when he goes down. Cooper Rush, love him as a backup quarterback. He's a great guy. The guys respond well to him, but he's not Dak Prescott. And the team does not function without Dak Prescott. And, you know, you were going to always be able to get a few wins with Cooper Rush, but as you get deeper into the season and into the playoffs, that was always the concern. And if this team was even going to be playoff ready without Dak at the helm. And luckily for us, you know, Dak is Wolverine and he can heal like that. And the injury wasn't as severe as it looked in week 1. And the season was able to be turned around. And that's just, you know, sometimes some guys heal faster than others. I can't say that if that was another quarterback, the result would have been the same. But for the Dallas Cowboys, luckily, Dak Prescott, like I said, is made of steel and he can bounce back. But I don't think it was an asinine take. It just so happens it's a freezing cold take now that, you know, the Cowboys are 7-3.
Didn't age well. Well, I don't think Britt's going to be as kind to me right now.
Because I was actually on the day after Dak Prescott suffered his injury, and I have not been on the show since because you guys thought I was crazy because I said the Cowboys would be 5-3 with Cooper Rush. They ended up actually being better. They were 6-2. So shame on me for even thinking that worse of the Cowboys 5-3. But you guys literally thought I was crazy saying that. I was not worried at all, and I said I wasn't worried because I had been in training camp every single day, seeing what the Cowboys were doing, seeing what their energy is in the locker room. And I said before, Cooper Rush had worked with these young wide receivers the majority of training camp. And I saw his accuracy in training camp, and I saw how great he was in training camp. And so I wasn't worried at all. I'm actually most impressed to see what Brett Maher did, because in training camp, we had 3 kickers. We had Jonathan Garibay, Liram Hajrullahu, and Brett Maher. Fans were so upset to get Brett back. No fan I heard of was excited to have Brett back. In training camp, they were all really terrible. They were going like 4 of 9 on 30-yard field goals in training camp. Everybody was terrible. So to see what he's done now in week 11, amazing. Like nobody saw that, but I did see Cooper Rush coming in and kicking butt.
You did.
So I want to ask you both, Ashley and Britt, and Ashley first. Before you came on, we played sound from Jerry Jones, who said what we saw out there. He said, I'm not sure we're that, but hey, essentially we're capable of winning a Super Bowl. And if the Cowboys are that, the Cowboys are capable of winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If they don't, let's say if they don't, what would be the biggest reason that they don't win it? Ashley first.
I would say it would come down to play calling schemes and time management. I mean, we see this all the time, right? It's always impressive when you can win in the regular season and when you can win consistently. Nobody's going to knock that, but the Cowboys have always fallen short when it actually counts. And you can only do that so many times until people start looking at you as like, okay, they're just a regular season win team. And for me, I said this at earlier of the season, when I was on the show, like, this is the year the Cowboys have to go ahead and say, we can win when it counts. The regular season does not matter when the playoffs come around. Your record in the regular season's irrelevant. You have to be able to do it when it means the most. And for some way, shape, or form, whether it's time management, whether it's injury, whether it's schemes, whether it's play calling, there has always been something that has been a wall at that point of the season for the Dallas Cowboys. And there can't be any more excuses. You can't go into every single season being a Super Bowl contender and everyone putting their money behind you and saying, this is a Super Bowl team, this is America's team, the most valuable franchise in the NFL. And then when it comes around, you're booted out in the first round. It does not work like that. It has to go ahead and be consistent even into the postseason. And I think that if that does not happen, the Cowboys are going to be in for a rude awakening. And I think Jerry Jones is really going to have to go ahead and make some significant changes to make sure that the following season, this is a team that you see deep in the playoffs, because the regular season doesn't mean anything anymore.
I think for me, it's their attitude, and attitude definitely reflects leadership. And you see that from Dak coming down. When Dak doesn't start off a game having a good game, the game's not going to go well. We know that as Cowboys fans. We see that time and time again. Yesterday, it was great because Micah kind of kicked off the game in the first minute and a half with that strip sack that Dorrance Armstrong recovered. So that was a great start to the game. But if we don't start with momentum, we always end up being a step behind the whole entire game. So I think the main thing for us to do is have the momentum in the beginning, and then if we don't have it, be able to grow that, be able to have a moment where we can be like, okay, we're not winning right now, but we need to take that extra step to do better. Jaron Kearse was asked yesterday, what team are you guys? Are you guys the Packers team that lost 2 weeks ago, or are you the team that won yesterday? And he said, we're both teams. And I think you need to have more of what we saw yesterday than what we saw 2 weeks ago, but it is right. They're both teams. Micah Parsons kind of reflected on that and said, I like taking constructive criticism, and that's what we need to be doing as a team. We need to be able to take constructive criticism for the moments where we lack it. We need to self-scout more, do all of those kind of things, and have those opportunities to be great. And I would say one thing, whatever we need to do to make all the Cowboys fans very, very upset before a game, let's start doing that. I don't care if you run into somebody's car, do something, because clearly they play better upset because they were really mad. The locker room was very upset last week, more than a typical loss. And I think that that's what catapulted this win this week. We have a short week this week, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but somebody make them really upset because clearly they play better that way.
And I'll add, to what Britt said, we see this in all sports, right? The momentum always shifts. So if you start off bad, there's always always multiple opportunities in a game to go ahead and change that trajectory. A team that starts hot doesn't necessarily finish hot, and vice versa. I think it's not worrying about what's behind you and always worrying about what's in front of you. And that's in any sport across the board. We see that in basketball. A guy's not shooting well in the first half of the game, but he perseveres and then he gets a hot streak. It's no different in football. Dak, your receivers aren't catching your passes. You're not doing your check downs. Nobody's clicking. Everything that's behind you is exactly that. It's behind you. It's every play, every possession, every down, and that's how you win football games.
Britt, then Ashley, before you guys joined us, Michael was saying, if I may quote you, Michael, that Mike McCarthy is a better coach for the Cowboys than Sean Payton would be. I'll phrase the question this way to you first, Britt, then you, Ashley. Or is Mike McCarthy, and it sounds like it, you guys are reasonable Cowboys fans, which is why we love talking to you. Is Mike McCarthy still, is the jury still out on Mike McCarthy? If they don't go on a deep playoff run this postseason, Britt, will there still be calls for Sean Payton to ride to the rescue, or are we off that now? Is Mike McCarthy the guy for this team?
Can I say maybe neither one of them are? I think Dan Quinn could possibly be the guy for the job, because Dan Quinn has gained the respect from these players, and this Dan Quinn offense or defense from these last 2 years has been incredible to watch. Like, it has been insane. They have changed the leadership of the team. They've changed, last year their motto was effort and intensity, I think it was, or something like that, but they were like killing it, and they focused on just getting better each day, and to Ashley's point of just forgetting about the last play and moving forward, and they did a really good job. And I think that Dan Quinn actually might be the guy. I know a lot of Cowboys fans were calling for it this offseason, and Dan Quinn was like, I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm going to follow Mike McCarthy's lead. But I love how the players love Dan Quinn.
Ashley?
I'll say this. It's hard to speak in hypotheticals because you don't know what Sean Payton looks like with the Dallas Cowboys, right? You only have Mike as your example for this point in the season, in this era rather. So I can't speak on whether Sean Payton would be the guy without seeing if he's actually the guy. But I will say this: I spoke to Sean Payton at the Super Bowl, and he is interested in the job. He would love the job. He's not retired from coaching. He's just kind of stepped back. He stepped away a little bit, but he definitely is interested in it. And I'll say this: Jerry Jones has had a bad habit in the past of holding on to things for too long. You saw it in the Jason Garrett era. It was a lot of mediocrity, and it just seemed like he was not willing to make the move when the move needed to be made. It was always one more shot. You give him one more season, one more week. And the NFL moves quick. We see this constantly, whether it's with players, whether it's with front office, whether it's with management, whether it's with ownership. It's constantly moving and it's constantly evolving. And if you're not evolving, you're staying stagnant. And if you're staying stagnant, you're not staying competitive. So I'll say this: if Mike does not go ahead and bring this team deep into the playoffs, I'm not going to go ahead and put the Super Bowl jinx on it. I'm just going to say deep into the playoffs. Then Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys really need to go ahead and look at what is the time frame with this unit that we have. I remember, thinking back to the Tony Romo era, one of my frustrations was we had a really good team for a short window of time, but there was always something that went wrong. And a big piece of that was Jason Garrett, right? So I would like to go ahead and see movement made quicker to go ahead and capitalize on what I think is probably the best Dallas Cowboys team we've seen in a very long time. And if Mike doesn't get the job, whether it's Sean Payton, whether it's Dan Quinn or somebody else, a move has to be made to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and to your point, Ashley.
I just gotta say this. I'm getting annoyed here, Mike. I'm getting annoyed. I gotta let you know. Okay, I'm getting annoyed. Now I realize that the Dallas Cowboys are America's team, but Mike McCarthy is Black America's head coach. I'm gonna tell you why. Mike McCarthy is Black America's head coach, because he does things. He does things, great things, but never gets credit for it. He has set up a foundation and never get credit for it. Okay, look.
He built this joint for free.
Hey, right, come on now. We're not here without Mike McCarthy.
He invented peanut butter.
That's your
Hey,
job.
make the stoplight.
But here's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing. Though. Listen, check this out, Mike. Mike, they said, Britt said, Dan Quinn. Then we say, who hired Dan Quinn? Oh, it was Mike McCarthy. Why did Mike McCarthy hire Dan Quinn initially? Because the Cowboys had the second worst defense in their history. They were giving up almost 500 yards per game on defense in 2020. So Mike McCarthy said, let me bring in Dan Quinn. Secure enough to hire another head coach who some people think is capable of replacing him. Mike McCarthy loses Dak Prescott, brings in Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush keeps him in the race. They're able to even compete for a divisional title because he had a backup quarterback ready to play. All these things McCarthy has done, but when they lose games and they mismanage the clock, it's all McCarthy. Y'all up here pining for Sean Payton. I hope you get what you asked for.
You're really scratching the bottom of the barrel for this. Like, you're scratching the bottom of the barrel for this, Michael. Like, to make your point, you're really digging deep. I mean, I get it, but he's also a head coach. It's his job to go ahead and produce wins in the regular season. It's his job to make sure that next man up, a.k.a. Cooper Rush, is ready to go when your franchise guy goes down.
But
it's
to
your
win,
job
ready to go, but to win? But to win?
People to go ahead and help you produce wins. All of those are in your job description as a head coach in the NFL. So I'm confused on what I'm patting him on the back for. That is what you're hired to do.
Right. And this is the same
Britt,
Mike McCarthy that also made a play or a call last week that cost us the game. He decided to go for it on 4th and 3 instead of kick a field goal, which would have potentially kept us in the game or tied the game. And to be very fair here, Will McClay, who is the man behind the scenes for the Dallas Cowboys, he's actually the one that has drafted most of these guys that are currently on this roster that's doing the thing right now. He's the one that got Micah Parsons there. He's the one that got Sam Williams there. All of these guys in the last, 7-8 years has been because of Will McClay. And this is, unfortunately, probably one of our last years to have a potential to be this because Tony Pollard is at the top of that list as this is his contract year. Can we afford to pay Tony Pollard next year? I don't know, but there's a ton of other guys on the list that are in 1-year contracts, 2-year deals, and there's a lot of guys that are going to be owed some money next year if they decide to re-sign with the Dallas Cowboys. Dalton Schultz, there's a ton of guys on this team, so I'm kind of nervous about that. Now is the time to win if we're going to win, but Will McClay, to be fair, is the guy that's got this roster to be what it is right now.
You tried, Michael. You tried. It's okay. It's okay.
It was a reach, but
This is great, though. We appreciate
I just like that the focus shifted to Michael's take as opposed to me writing off the Cowboys at the beginning of the year. Thank you, ladies. Y'all were brilliant as always. We'll see y'all down the road.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.